Today, we will take you deep into the world of the Hells Angels, a notorious motorcycle club that's left an indelible mark on the annals of rebellion. Here are the stories of some of the most infamous Hells Angels members currently rotting behind bars. Have you ever wondered what's the most shocking crime committed by the Hells Angels? Meet the notorious Otis Garrett. His journey takes us back to the dark and tumultuous year of 1977, when the world was about to witness an unimaginable series of events that would send shockwaves far beyond the borders of San Francisco and Oregon. At the heart of this chilling saga stands Otis Garrett, an ex-president of the Hells Angels Vallejo wing, whose name would become synonymous with terror and infamy. The summer of 1977 began like any other, with people going about their lives, unaware of the gruesome fate that awaited some unfortunate souls. In a nondescript suburban neighborhood, 2 young lives were brutally snuffed out, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and unspeakable horror. Among the victims was 24-year-old Margot Compton, a young woman with dreams and aspirations that would never be realized. The other victim, a mere 19 years old, was Gary Sessler, whose life was also cruelly cut short in the prime of youth. But tragically, this sinister tale did not end with their deaths. What makes this crime particularly chilling is not just the brutality of the killings themselves, but the fact that these murders were only the tip of the iceberg. In addition to Margot and Gary, the victims included 6-year-old twins. Their story, or rather, their heart-wrenching fate, would haunt the investigators for nearly 2 decades. As the investigators delved deeper into the crime scene, they discovered the horrific details of that fateful day. The 2 young girls, dressed in matching orange and yellow striped swimsuits, were found lying lifeless on the floor, covered with a blood-splattered bedspread. Their innocent eyes were forever closed, and their 2 favorite teddy bears lay at their sides as if offering some form of comfort in the face of unimaginable terror. The most haunting detail, perhaps, was that each of the girls had one precisely placed .22 caliber bullet hole behind their left ear. As the police later learned, these innocent souls were shot as they clutched their teddy bears tightly to their chests. Their mother, Margot Compton, was held pinned and forced to watch this unthinkable act of cruelty unfold before her very eyes. As if that weren't enough, the perpetrators, in an act of cold-blooded cruelty, then turned their attention to Margot herself. She was shot 3 times in the head, a brutal act of finality that left no room for mercy. Gary Sessler had met a similarly gruesome end, gunned down before he could intervene. In the wake of this nightmarish massacre, the community was left in shock and disbelief. How could such unspeakable evil exist within their midst? The police were overwhelmed, facing a crime so heinous that it defied comprehension. Otis Garrett, at that time, was a name few outside of criminal circles knew. However, he was soon to become infamous, not only for the chilling murders, but for the reign of terror he would unleash upon the world. Already serving a life sentence in Lomo Federal Prison in California for a narcotics conviction, Otis found himself at the center of a murder trial that would make headlines across the nation. The trial painted a terrifying portrait of a man who had once been a millionaire dealer of crank, or methamphetamine. He was a man who had embraced a life of criminality with a chilling level of dedication. Otis Garrett's story became a defining chapter in the sordid history of the Hells Angels, setting a precedent for their heinous crimes and their unrelenting defiance of law and order. In the end, Otis Garrett was convicted on 4 counts of murder and sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences in prison. His life of crime had finally caught up with him, and he would spend the rest of his days behind bars, a chilling reminder of the darkness that could lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly ordinary individuals. But Otis Garrett's story was just the beginning. The Hells Angels had left an indelible mark on the world of organized crime, and their reign of terror was far from over. Join us as we delve deeper into the criminal underworld of this infamous motorcycle club, uncovering the shocking tales of its members who are currently serving time behind bars. Otis Garrett's story is just the tip of the iceberg, but hold on, there's more to uncover. Our next journey into the dark underbelly of the Hells Angels world takes us to the unlikely figure of Dr. James Kaufman, a respected endocrinologist from the quiet streets of New Jersey. Dr. Kaufman, known for his medical expertise, had managed to conceal a sinister secret, one that would eventually lead him down a treacherous path of crime, deceit, and murder. In the eyes of his colleagues and patients, Dr. Kaufman appeared to be living the American dream. A successful endocrinologist, he had established a thriving medical practice that earned him respect and admiration in his community. However, behind this facade of respectability lay a chilling truth. James Kaufman was leading a double life, deeply entangled in the criminal underworld. His journey into darkness began with an unlikely alliance, one that would have far-reaching consequences. Dr. Kaufman, it turns out, had joined forces with a member of the notorious Hells Angels motorcycle gang. His partner in crime? None other than his wife, April Kaufman. April Kaufman was not just any ordinary spouse. She was a renowned radio host and a fervent supporter of veterans' rights. Little did she know that her husband had a sinister side, one that would ultimately shatter their lives and their marriage. The cracks in their seemingly perfect life began to surface when April discovered James's involvement in an illegal drug trade. Shocked and betrayed, she decided that the only way out of this dark alliance was to divorce her husband. Little did she know that this decision would set off a chain of events that would lead to a shocking and brutal murder. In 2012, tragedy struck the Kaufman household. April Kaufman was found brutally murdered in their home. Her death sent shockwaves through the community and left investigators baffled. Was this a mere coincidence, a tragic turn of events in an already tumultuous relationship, or something far more sinister? As investigators delved deeper into the case, a chilling truth began to emerge. Dr. James Kaufman's ties to the Hells Angels and pagan motorcycle clubs were no longer a secret. The criminal underbelly that he had concealed for so long was exposed for all to see. Suddenly, this seemingly ordinary doctor found himself at the center of a high-profile murder investigation. The charges against Dr. Kaufman were nothing short of shocking. He stood accused of a range of crimes, including murder and racketeering. The evidence against him painted a chilling portrait of a man who had embraced the criminal lifestyle with a shocking degree of dedication. The trial of Dr. James Kaufman gained not only national, but also international attention. It was a case that portrayed a respected doctor as an infamous criminal, a man who had betrayed the trust of his patients, his community, and his own family. As the evidence mounted and the courtroom drama unfolded, it became clear that Dr. Kaufman's life was spiraling out of control. He was facing charges of racketeering, drug dealing, and first-degree murder, a combination that seemed destined to lead to a lengthy prison sentence. But Dr. Kaufman had other plans. As he awaited trial in 2018, he chose a shocking and tragic path. In a final act of defiance or desperation, he took his own life, leaving behind a 6-page suicide note. On that note, he claimed his innocence, a declaration that would haunt those who had followed his story. The story of Dr. James Kaufman serves as a chilling reminder of the dark and sinister underbelly of the Hells Angels world. It's a tale of a man who had it all: success, respect, and a promising future, but who chose to embrace a life of crime, ultimately leading to his downfall and a shocking tragedy that would forever scar his community. But the Hells Angels world is vast, and the criminal tales it holds are far from over. Join us as we continue our journey into the lives of some of the most notorious Hells Angels members currently serving time behind bars, each with their dark and haunting story. Today, we delve into the riveting and dark tale of Randy Jorger, a name that sends chills down the spines of those familiar with the Hells Angels world. Known as Mad, Randy Jorger's journey into infamy was nothing short of a symphony of rebellion, violence, and criminal prowess. He stands as one of the most notorious figures within the Hells Angels motorcycle club, and his story is one of relentless defiance that shook the criminal underworld. Randy Jorger's story begins with his ascent through the ranks of the Hells Angels, the infamous motorcycle club with a reputation for mayhem and violence. He quickly earned his stripes and took the reins as the head of the Outlaw Chicago chapter. However, this was just the beginning of his tumultuous and dangerous journey. Jorger's life soon became a complex web of crime, rebellion, and brutal acts of violence. His influence within the motorcycle club extended far beyond the borders of Chicago, eventually propelling him to the position of Midwest president of the Hells Angels. It was a position of immense power and responsibility, one that he wielded with ruthless determination. Throughout his reign, Jorger faced an array of charges that would send shivers down the spines of most individuals. His criminal portfolio included charges of drug trafficking, brutal acts of violence, firearms and explosive violations, arson and narcotics trafficking. He was a man unafraid of diving headfirst into the darkest corners of the criminal underworld, leaving a trail of chaos and destruction in his wake. What set Jorger apart from many others in his world was his ability to evade capture for an astonishing 17 years. He operated as a phantom in the night, consistently eluding the clutches of law enforcement. His elusive escapades only deepened the mystique surrounding him, solidifying his status as one of America's longest-standing fugitives. The authorities, however, were not willing to relent in their pursuit of justice. In 2014, after nearly 2 decades on the run, Randy Jorger's luck finally ran out. He was apprehended in Mexico, marking the end of his reign as a fugitive. The charges against him were numerous and severe, reflecting the gravity of his actions and the trail of devastation he had left in his wake. Jorger's trial was nothing short of a spectacle, an event that laid bare the sinister workings of the outlaw biker world. It was a world where loyalty and brutality reigned supreme, and Jorger had been at the forefront of it all. The authorities had gathered a wealth of evidence that painted a damning picture of his involvement in criminal activities. The verdict came crashing down like a sledgehammer, a final reckoning for a man who had lived a life defined by defiance and violence. Randy Jorger was sentenced to a lifetime in prison, serving the consequences of his brutal actions. It was a sentence that reflected the seriousness of his crimes and the determination of law enforcement to bring him to justice. The legacy of Randy "Mad" Jorger endures as a reminder of the choices and actions that can lead a person down a path of darkness. His story serves as a testament to the allure of rebellion and the inevitable repercussions that await those who embrace a life of crime. Jorger's name is etched into the annals of Hells Angels history, a stark reminder of the brutal choices and violence that some within the motorcycle club world choose to embrace. But the world of the Hells Angels is vast, and the stories it holds are far from over. Join us as we continue our journey into the lives of some of the most notorious Hells Angels members, currently serving time behind bars, each with their dark and haunting story. Today, we delve into the gripping and dark narrative of Raymond Folks, a figure whose name still sends shivers down the spines of those who've crossed paths with the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. Known within the club as Ray, his story is a chilling chronicle of brutality, crime, and the unrelenting pursuit of power. Raymond Folks began his journey into infamy as a member of the Hells Angels, one of the most notorious motorcycle clubs in the world. It wasn't long before he climbed the ranks and assumed a position of prominence as the president of the Sonoma County chapter. His ascension to power marked the beginning of a reign characterized by intimidation, violence, and criminal enterprise. One of the defining features of Ray's leadership was his encouragement of violence and criminal behavior within the club. He fostered an environment where brutality was not only tolerated, but often celebrated. This culture of violence extended beyond the boundaries of the Hells Angels and left a trail of fear in its wake. Ray Ray's notoriety extended beyond the club, as he was even suspected of sexual assault involving a fellow club member's wife. It was a testament to his audacity and disregard for the boundaries of morality. Yet, despite the gravity of these allegations and numerous encounters with law enforcement, he managed to evade serious convictions for years. His ability to slip through the grasp of the law only added to his legend within the Hells Angels. He operated with a sense of impunity, leaving behind a string of unsolved cases and frustrated investigators. It seemed that Ray Ray was untouchable, a master of evasion in a world where law enforcement was determined to bring him to justice. However, in 2017, the tide began to turn. A relentless law enforcement operation targeted the Hells Angels' criminal operations, and at the center of it all was Ray Ray. He was indicted on conspiracy charges related to drug distribution, exposing the extent of his sinister empire. The trial that followed laid bare the depths of his involvement in the criminal underworld, revealing a web of corruption, violence, and criminal enterprise. The courtroom drama in 2019 left little doubt about Ray Ray's guilt. The evidence presented against him was damning, and it became increasingly clear that his reign of terror had reached its expiration, defueled by a determination to bring him to just the authorities, had built a compelling case that left no room for doubt. In 2020, the verdict came crashing down, delivering a substantial prison term that put an end to Ray Ray's reign of terror. It was a moment of reckoning, a culmination of years of criminal activity and brutality. The sentence reflected the seriousness of his crimes and sent a powerful message to those who would follow in his footsteps. Raymond Folks, or Ray Ray as he was known within the Hells Angels, serves as a stark reminder of the dark side of outlaw motorcycle clubs. His story is a chilling testament to the allure of power, violence, and criminality that can permeate these organizations. It is a cautionary tale that highlights the inevitable consequences of a life lived on the wrong side of the law. But our journey through the lives of the most notorious Hells Angels members currently behind bars is far from over. Subscribe to our channel as we continue to explore the stories of individuals whose names have become synonymous with rebellion, crime, and defiance. And there you have it, folks, a glimpse into the dark and defiant world of these infamous Hells Angels members, now serving time behind bars. Their stories are a testament to the unforgiving path they chose, and a reminder of the repercussions of a life steeped in rebellion. Join us again for more tales from the shadows as we delve deeper into the world of defiance and crime. Until then, ride hard and live free. Remember to hit that subscribe button and stay true to the road of unapologetic rebellion.
Introducing the epitome of fear, the most feared man in the history of Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, also known as the HA, the Red and White and the 81 have carved their name into the annals of infamy. With 6,000 members in 467 chapters across 59 countries, one name reverberates with a resonance all its own: Frank Armin Hanebuth. Brace yourselves to know more about him. In Garbsen-Osterwald, Germany, Frank was born into a middle-class family. From an ordinary life, he became the leader of the Hells Angels in Europe. But how did it all start? Fate took him from carpentry to Hanover's red light district, and in 1995 he rose to prominence as a president of the Hanover chapter of the Bones Motorcycle Club. Let's have a look at how did this journey shape his destiny. In 1999, Frank joined the Hells Angels and became a powerful leader in Hanover, Germany. His chapter grew in wealth and influence, making Frank a respected figure in the criminal world. However, his reign was short-lived. In 2000, he faced arrest for trying to set up brothels in Hamburg. He was found guilty of a violent crime and spent 3 tough years in prison. But Frank didn't let this setback break him. After his release, he focused on expanding the Hells Angels in Hanover and throughout Germany. He was praised by the media for bringing peace to the once chaotic Steindorfertal, a neighborhood known for its violent clashes between Albanian, Russian, and Turkish gangs. But did you know that Frank Armin Hanebuth had a different side too? Yes, you heard it right. Newspapers like Hannoversche Allgemeine Zeitung and the New Press revealed his sophistication and respectability. Through his attorney, Getz Werner von Fromberg, Frank built connections with political and business elites in Hanover. But then, on May 24, 2012, a raid by the State Criminal Police Office of Lower Saxony and GSG 9 shook the underworld. What happened next? The investigation into alleged contract killings ordered by Hanebuth was dropped due to lack of evidence, leaving behind an air of mystery. After the raid, he sought refuge in Mallorca, where he assumed the role of the president of the local Hells Angels chapter. But his sanctuary would be short-lived. On July 23, 2013, he was arrested in Mallorca, facing a multitude of charges. As the man in charge of the Hells Angels operations in Spain, he and his fellow club members were accused of forming a criminal organization, promoting illegal prostitution, drug trafficking, and money laundering. Following his arrest, he spent 4 weeks in solitary confinement before being remanded in normal custody in September 2013. In October of the same year, he was transferred to Madrid along with 17 other suspects. His confinement continued in the high-security wing of a prison in El Puerto in Santa Maria, where he awaited his trial. Throughout his tumultuous journey, he defied the odds. In July 2015, 2 years after his initial arrest, he was released from custody on a bail amounting to 60,000 euros. However, his freedom came with strict conditions, requiring him to appear at the police station once a week. But here's the twist. In July 2017, amidst the ongoing legal proceedings, Hanebuth found solace in the union of marriage. Can you believe it? He married his longtime girlfriend, Anna Sarah Naumann, in a ceremony held in Bissendorf near Hanover, making a personal triumph amidst the turmoil. After a lengthy legal battle, his trial in Spain on charges of membership in a criminal organization finally began in January 2023. And let me tell you, he was the only defendant who used his right to a final statement before the trial was adjourned Friday evening, and he used it to insist that his organization was democratic. We are not a criminal organization. We are the only biker club in the world that is based on a democratic structure. That means one person, one vote, he said. He denied that there was a president of the group at a national or international level, claiming that each chapter is independent. His lawyer had previously requested the court during the closing arguments to acquit Hanebuth. But Spanish prosecutors are asking the judge overseeing the trial to fine him 4.2 million euros for the money laundering charge. The trial is expected to last several weeks. Prosecutors are seeking a 13-year prison sentence for him, as they consider him a key individual in the scheme that moved his group from Hanover to Mallorca after pressure in Germany increased. Imagine being in a courtroom that is filled with tension and danger. It's a place where tough bikers, known for their wild lifestyles and strong bond, face the intense scrutiny of the law. Welcome to the world of the Hells Angels, where rules are broken and chaos rules. Today, we explore a disturbing topic that will make you question the boundaries of justice: the most crazy Hells Angels in a courtroom. Get ready to be captivated by one astonishing story of rebellion, crime, and the extreme measures taken by these outlaw bikers to protect their empire. This tale has not only shocked the legal system, but also intrigued the world. In Las Vegas, something big happened involving the leader of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. His name is Richard DeVries, and he is 67 years old. He was already out on bail for a shooting on a highway in Las Vegas, but now he's facing even more serious charges related to organized crime. The judge decided that he should be put in jail until his trial. This unexpected turn of events made the legal battle even more intense. Some investigative reporters from 8 News Now discovered something shocking. Out of 8 members or friends of the Hells Angels, 7 of them were involved in more than 30 criminal charges. These charges include planning to commit murder, attempting murder, helping a criminal gang, physically hurting others, and being part of organized crime. The evidence against them was strong and painted a dark and scary picture of their alleged violent actions. The incident that caused all this chaos happened on a busy road called US 95 during the Memorial Day weekend. The Hells Angels and their rivals, the Vagos, got into a fight and started shooting at each other. This caused a lot of chaos and panic. 6 people got hurt and the traffic on the road came to a standstill. The prosecutors think that the shootout might have been a result of a previous murder in California, making it a dangerous cycle of revenge. On September 23rd, new information came to light through an indictment, revealing more people involved in this intense conflict. Among them were Aaron Chun, who was hoping to join the club, and 2 friends named Ryan Malasco and Ronerick Padilla, who were known as hangarounds and spent time with the club. Taylor Rodriguez was another person mentioned, as he started as a prospect and later became a full member of the Hells Angels. Cameron Trike, an established member, was also involved. Surprisingly, it was revealed in court documents that Malasco himself had been injured in the shootout, adding another layer of intrigue to the unfolding drama. As the legal proceedings continued, the courtroom became filled with intense emotions. Stephen Allo, Russell Smith, Chun, Padilla, and Trike all faced the weight of the crimes they were accused of. DeVries' lawyer passionately argued against changing the conditions of his bail, questioning their fairness. The determined prosecutor countered by pointing out the new indictment and the ongoing criminal activities of the Hells Angels. Judge Tierra Jones, a fair and experienced judge, carefully listened to all the arguments presented. She temporarily lifted the bail restriction that prevented communication between the defendants and other Hells Angels members, causing an air of anticipation in the courtroom. Judge Jones, known for her attention to detail, stressed the need for specific names and details before making her final decision. The room held its breath, eagerly waiting for her verdict. The investigation took a surprising twist when the Henderson police found 2 abandoned motorcycles in a parking lot. As they looked closer, they noticed bullet holes and blood stains on one of the bikes, showing that a violent incident had occurred. It was interesting to discover that the temporary permit tag on one of the motorcycles belonged to Malasco, while the other was linked to Smith. Surveillance cameras recorded Chun, Malasco, and Smith entering the parking lot together and later separating from their motorcycles in a dramatic manner. The determined police officers continued their search for the truth. They turned their attention to a car connected to Padilla's girlfriend. To their astonishment, they found a significant amount of incriminating evidence inside. There were bullets and blood, like pieces of a disturbing puzzle, further proving the connection between the accused individuals and the location of the crime. As the courtroom drama unfolded, Richard DeVries, the Victorian Supreme Court of Appeal, has dismissed his appeal against his convictions for the murders he committed in Mo. DeVries had been sentenced to 31 years in prison. Despite his lawyer's efforts to appeal the convictions, citing a potential miscarriage of justice during the trial due to the characterization of a key witness as untrustworthy by the Crown's prosecutor, the court did not find merit in the argument. The decision further solidifies the outcome of the trial, leaving DeVries to face the consequences of his heinous actions. The Hells Angels have traditionally been the most feared of the motorcycle gangs operating in the shadowy underground. Some of the more notorious members who gain notoriety for their vicious methods and illegal acts have been caught and put behind bars. Let's check out the 5 most feared former Hells Angels who are now in prison. Why would a group as powerful as the Hells Angels choose a life behind bars? Starting off with number 5, Raymond Ray. Raymond Ray Folks and Christopher Rainman Ranieri, both members of the Sonoma County chapter of the Hells Angels, were found guilty by a federal jury of racketeering conspiracy and murder conspiracy. Brian Burke, the third defendant, was found not guilty of intimidating witnesses according to court authorities. A life sentence in jail is being considered for Ranieri. Folks might be sentenced to 60 years in jail. Folks was found guilty of sexually abusing the victim's wife and threatening to denounce her husband to the police while he was being assaulted at the clubhouse. Coming in at number 4 is Michael Mahoney. U.S. Attorney Philip A. Talbert announced today that 30-year-old Fairfield resident Michael Mahoney was sentenced to 3 years and 1 month in prison for having a weapon with an obliterated or changed serial number and possessing an unregistered short-barreled shotgun. Court records showed that on December 8, 2021, police searched Mahoney's residence as part of an investigation into a severe assault at the Vallejo branch of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. Mahoney and other Hells Angels members attacked 2 victims in October 2021 for what they believe to be rule violations on the part of the victims' motorcycle club, which is considered a puppet or subordinate club of the Hells Angels. Moving on to number 3 is Nicholas Alexander Aguan. Defendant Nicholas Alexander Aguan, 34, of Stockton, California, was sentenced to 80 months in prison by the District Court of Guam, according to a press release from the United States Attorney for the Districts of Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands a few months ago. Aguan was found guilty of conspiring to distribute 50 or more grams of methamphetamine hydrochloride. The judge also imposed a required special assessment charge of $100 and 5 years of supervised release. Stay tuned to the video as we're going to discover how a former Rhode Island Hells Angels commander ended up in handcuffs and facing a 5-year prison sentence. The next one on the list is George Christie. According to his lawyer, former Hells Angels commander George Christie Jr. was given a sentence of 10.5 months in jail for his role in the 2007 bombing of 2 tattoo parlors in Ventura. According to Christie's lawyer, Michael Mayock, Christie, 66, will start serving his term in roughly 2 months. A plea deal and sentence paperwork from U.S. District Court Judge Wu are under seal. Christie and 3 others were detained in 2011 on suspicion of involvement in the bombings of 2 tattoo parlors on Main Street, Scratch the Surface and Twisted Ink. Christie, who owned the competing Ventura tattoo parlor, the Ink House at the time, was president of the local Hells Angels chapter. According to Mayock, Christie was charged with 8 counts of extortion and use of explosives, but only pleaded guilty to 1. In the top spot, we have Joseph Lancia, the 5-year prisoner. About 4 years ago, Joseph Lancia became the leader of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club in Rhode Island. His 5-year jail term began last year when he was carried out of a Providence Superior courtroom in handcuffs. Smithfield resident Lancia, 30, pleaded not guilty to felony assault and battery and unlicensed gun possession last month. As part of the agreement, the more severe charges of discharging a firearm during a violent crime and assault with intent to commit murder were dropped. Lancia is also accused of shooting at a vehicle driven by Richard Starnino, a former prospect to join the motorcycle gang who has been embroiled in an ongoing disagreement with Lancia in June of 2019. Video surveillance footage, according to investigators, shows Lancia firing at the vehicle as Starnino drives past the Hells Angels Providence headquarters on Messer Street. The clubhouse's own security camera captured the crucial video evidence used to convict Lancia. He is currently serving time in prison for his crime. Their stories of bloodshed, treachery, and criminal escapades have finally caught up with them, and now they must deal with the fallout. From behind bars, we can see the tragic consequences of following their example. What are your views on these members? Do let us know your opinions in the comments below.